Welcome to Naughty Relationship Stories, where passion, drama, secrets, and unexpected twists come alive. I never meant for anything to happen. Honestly, when I moved back home after my breakup, the last thing on my mind was getting involved with anyone, especially not someone who worked for my dad. But then again, I hadn't met Noah yet. My dad runs a small construction company in town. Nothing fancy, but he's proud of it. Built it from the ground up. Everyone knows him around here, and he's known for two things: being dedicated as hell when it came to work, and trusting Noah more than anyone else. Noah was the one name I kept hearing over and over. Noah already handled it. Let Noah take care of that. If only the others worked like Noah. So, when I started helping out with payroll and scheduling from the office, I was curious. The first time I saw him in person, he was lifting lumber off the back of a truck, sleeves pushed up, forearms flexing with every move. His shirt clung to his back in the summer heat, and his hat was pulled low over his brow, but I still saw the sharp line of his jaw and the way his eyes flicked up to meet mine when he noticed me watching. He didn't smile. He just nodded once and went back to work. And that was the beginning. At first we barely spoke. A polite morning here, a quick, "Do you need anything?" there. But over the next couple weeks it shifted. He lingered a little longer in the office when he dropped off reports. He started asking how my day was going. He learned how I took my coffee, black with 1 sugar. And then came the day it rained. Everyone else on the crew bailed except for him. I was in the office sorting invoices when he walked in, soaked from the downpour, shirt sticking to his chest and jeans clinging low to his hips. My breath hitched before I could hide it. "You didn't have to come in," I said, trying to sound casual. He shrugged, brushing water from his shoulders. "Didn't want to leave the siding half finished. You said it needed to be done by tomorrow." I nodded, suddenly hyper-aware of the silence between us, and the fact that my dad was out of town until tomorrow. "Let me make you some coffee," I said. He gave me a slow look, like he knew exactly what I was trying to distract myself from. But he nodded. "Thanks." I handed him the mug a few minutes later, and when his fingers brushed mine, just for a second, it was like a jolt straight through my chest. We didn't speak for a long moment. Just stood there, rain tapping softly against the windows, the scent of fresh coffee between us, and that tension that neither of us dared name. But in that silence, something changed. Because for the first time he didn't look away. And I didn't either. The rain didn't let up. If anything, it came down harder, thick, steady sheets pounding the roof like it had something to prove. The office lights flickered once, then again. And just like that, they went out. I froze. Noah glanced up from where he sat on the workbench, coffee mug in hand. In the dim light from the windows I could barely see his face, but I could feel him watching me. "Generator's probably out too," he said calmly. "Happens when it rains this hard." I moved to grab my phone from the desk, but the battery was nearly dead. "Well," I muttered, trying to laugh, "I guess we waited out." Noah stood slowly, setting his mug down with a soft clink. The way he moved, steady, unbothered, quiet, sent heat crawling under my skin. "Storm like this? Might be a while." His voice was low, rough like gravel smoothed over with something softer. The silence between us stretched again. Not awkward, just heavy. Loaded. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching the storm through the glass. I found myself watching him, his posture, the way his muscles shifted under the damp cotton of his t-shirt. His presence filled the room in a way that made it hard to focus on anything else. And then he said without looking at me, "You don't talk much." I blinked. "Neither do you." He finally turned toward me. And this time he didn't look away. "You're not like what I expected," he said. I tilted my head. "What did you expect?" His eyes flicked down, then back up, slow and deliberate. More attitude. Less warmth. My breath caught. I wasn't sure if it was the way he said it, or the fact that no one had called me warm in a long time. I didn't feel warm. I felt invisible. At least until now. "I guess I'm full of surprises," I said quietly. Something shifted in his expression. His jaw tightened just slightly and he took a step forward. I didn't move. "I try to stay away from trouble," he murmured, barely above the sound of the rain. "Especially when it looks like this." And suddenly my throat went dry. Because I knew exactly what he meant. "Noah." I started, but the word died in my mouth. He stepped even closer. I could smell the mix of rain and sweat and sawdust on him. Could feel the heat rolling off his body in waves. My back hit the edge of the desk and I didn't remember moving. He leaned in, just enough for me to feel his breath against my cheek. Say the word and I'll walk out of here right now. But I didn't say anything. I didn't want him to leave. Not when he was the first person in months who looked at me like I was wanted. Like I was seen. Like I was more than just the boss's daughter, or someone holding her life together with a fake smile and an overworked calendar. I swallowed hard. Then don't go. Noah didn't ask again. He kissed me like he'd been holding back for weeks. Firm, slow, filled with heat and something that felt almost like reverence. And when his hands found my waist, pulling me closer in the low glow of the storm, I stopped pretending I wanted to resist. Because I didn't. Not even a little. The storm outside turned everything a soft gray blue. Thunder rolled in the distance, but all I could hear was the sound of my breath and his filling the room like the air itself had thickened. Noah's hands slid under my shirt, rough palms against my skin, warm and steady. There was no rush, no fumbling. Just a slow, deliberate pull as he lifted it over my head, letting his eyes take me in. I should have felt nervous. I didn't. I felt hungry. My back hit the office wall with a soft thud as his lips found my neck. He was quiet, focused, like he was studying every part of me with his mouth and hands. When I reached for his belt, he paused, forehead resting against mine. You sure? He asked, his voice low and strained. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. That was all he needed. When I felt him against me fully, I froze for a second. Not from fear but sheer surprise. He was more. Thicker. Longer. He hadn't even moved yet and I already felt stretched. My fingers dug into the fabric of his shirt. He noticed. You okay? I nodded, biting my bottom lip. Just give me a second. Noah leaned in, brushing a kiss against my jaw. I'll go slow. But even slow felt like a lot. Like my body wasn't used to this kind of size. Pleasure tangled with pressure, every inch of movement sending heat crawling up my spine. It ached in the way that made my toes curl, the way that made my breath hitch with every controlled thrust. He guided me to the edge of the desk, one hand gripping my thigh, the other bracing against the surface. Folders spilled onto the floor. Papers fluttered with each rhythm. The storm outside. Gone from my mind. The only thunder I felt was in my chest, between my legs, in the way he grunted softly when I clenched around him. You feel... He stopped, biting back a curse. So damn good. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't soft. It was raw, electric, dizzying. He turned me around, palms on the office table, his body pressed flush against mine. The way he filled me, completely, made me gasp, my cheek pressed to the cool wood. His hand came around to pull my hair gently, lips brushing my ear. This what you needed? He asked. I couldn't even answer. Only moans, sharp and breathy, spilled from my lips. We finished like we started, fast, hot, quiet only because we had to be. When it was over, I sat on the edge of the desk, thighs trembling, heart pounding, the ache between my legs a delicious reminder of what just happened. He kissed my shoulder. No words. No apologies. And I didn't want any. I just wanted more. I tried to convince myself that what happened in the office was a one-time thing, a fluke. I blamed the storm, the loneliness, or was it the way he kissed me like no one ever had? But the ache between my thighs told a different story. I spent most of the morning in a loose nightgown, cleaning things that didn't need cleaning and ignoring texts that didn't matter. The house was quiet, too quiet. Then there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, there he was. Noah in a fitted gray tee that clung to his chest, holding a manila folder like it actually meant something. But the look in his eyes told me the truth. He wasn't here for paperwork. Forgot this at the office, he said, stepping inside. I didn't even answer. I just turned, walking away slowly, robe loose, swaying, showing him exactly what I wasn't wearing underneath. By the time I reached the hallway, I heard the folder drop behind me. Then the quiet thud of his boots as he followed. Seriously, he said from behind, his voice low, rough. You opened the door like that? I glanced over my shoulder with a smirk. You didn't seem upset about it. He caught me at the edge of the hallway, spun me around and pinned me against the wall with a kiss that didn't ask. It took. His hands moved fast, tugging the robe open, fingers skimming my skin like he couldn't get enough. His breath was warm against my neck. His body was hot, hard, and already pressing against me. I could feel him through his jeans, thick, heavy, and suddenly I wanted to feel all of him. All over again. I dropped to my knees without a word. The look on his face when I did, like I'd just knocked the wind out of him. I undid his belt slowly, teasing him, letting my fingers brush over him deliberately. When I pulled him free, he let out a low curse, his hand bracing against the wall behind me. "You're gonna kill me," he whispered, watching me. I didn't say anything, I just took my time. I loved seeing him come undone, how this strong, stoic man became completely vulnerable under my mouth. His breathing turned sharp, his fingers curling slightly in my hair as I worked him over. I wasn't rushing. I wanted him trembling, and he was. Right before he lost control, he pulled me up roughly and pinned me back against the wall, kissing me like he needed it just to survive. Then, without even a pause, he lifted my leg and entered me, slow but deep, making me feel every inch of what I had just tasted. "Still sore?" he murmured, voice strained. He didn't hesitate. The first push was slow, thick, filling, deliberate. My head hit the wall gently, eyes fluttering shut as I adjusted to the stretch. He stilled inside me, breathing hard against my cheek. "Damn," he growled. "You take me like you were made for it." I moaned softly, tightening my grip on his shoulders as he began to move. Each stroke hit deep, angled upward in a way that sent waves of heat through my thighs, my belly, my chest. It wasn't frantic, it was controlled. Measured. Like he wanted me to feel everything. His hips rocked into mine, his fingers digging into my skin, pulling me closer with each motion. The hallway echoed with our shallow breaths, the rustle of my robe falling completely open, and the soft, rhythmic creak of the floor beneath us. When I gasped too loudly, he placed his hand over my mouth, eyes locking with mine. "Quiet," he whispered. "You want your neighbors to hear us?" That should have scared me. But it didn't. "Turn me on more." I nodded, biting down on my own moan as his pace quickened. He grabbed my leg and lifted it higher, changing the angle. Deeper, rougher now. The ache between my legs mixed with the sting of overstimulation and the rush of almost being caught. My body tightened around him as I fell apart, right there against the hallway wall, legs trembling, breath caught in my throat. He followed moments later, pulsing inside me with a low groan that rumbled in his chest. But Noah wasn't done. Not even close. Before I could catch my breath, he scooped me into his arms, strong, steady, like I weighed nothing. My robe clung to me in damp folds, legs draped around his waist, my heart still pounding in the aftermath. "Where's your room?" he asked, already halfway down the hallway. I didn't answer. But he found it anyway. The door opened with a soft creak, and then we were inside, flooded in early afternoon light, the room still warm from sunlight filtering through gauzy curtains. He laid me on the bed like I was something fragile, then looked at me like I was something he was about to break, in the best way possible. "You're not walking straight after this," he muttered under his breath as he climbed over me. I didn't even try to act surprised. I just spread my legs and let him settle between them. He was already hard again, thick and full, pressing against me, rubbing just where I needed him most. My body, still tender from the hallway, trembled beneath the promise of more. He didn't rush this time. He moved slowly. He kissed his way down my neck, my chest, my stomach, tasting every part of me like he had all day. His hands held me open, fingers grazing the most sensitive places until I was panting, pleading, hips arching into him. When he finally entered me again, it was slow, torturously slow, but deep, full, and complete. I moaned into his shoulder as he moved, his pace steady and measured, like he was trying to memorize how I felt wrapped around him. Like he wanted to rewire me from the inside out. Maybe he did. Because nothing had ever felt like this. Noah didn't talk much, but the way he touched me said everything. When I clenched around him, he groaned, low and ragged, like he was holding back something dangerous. "You're so tight," he whispered, forehead resting against mine. "You were made for this." And then he flipped me effortlessly, pulling my hips up, his hand slipping under my stomach as he slid back inside. My legs gave out almost instantly, cheek pressed to the sheets, eyes rolling back. He moved with purpose now, pounding into me, deep and deliberate, one hand holding me in place, the other sliding up to grip my wrist. I couldn't think or speak, only feel. And when I came again, loud and breathless, he didn't stop. He wanted me shaking. He wanted me overstimulated. And when he finally let go, collapsing on top of me, panting into my hair, we lay tangled in each other's limbs for what felt like forever. Neither of us said a word. We didn't need to. Because after that, My body wasn't mine anymore. It was his. The bed still smelled like him. Like sweat, heat, and something darker I couldn't name. I lay there for a long time after Noah left, robe wrapped around me again, body still aching in that deep, pulsing way. A dull throb between my thighs reminded me of every position, every grip, every slow roll of his hips. He'd left me wrecked in the best way. He'd also left me completely undone. Because the moment the door shut behind him, reality came flooding back in. It was Saturday afternoon. And my father would be home any minute. I scrambled out of bed, legs unsteady, hair a mess, heart still drumming in my chest. I rushed through the motions, stripping the bedsheets, spraying linen spray, throwing on leggings and a loose sweater to hide the marks Noah had left on my hips and chest. But no amount of Febreze could erase the smell of him. I was in the kitchen when I heard it, the sound of keys in the front door. Panic jolted through me. I wiped my hands on a towel and pulled in a deep breath just as the door swung open. "Hey, sweetheart," my dad said, stepping inside with his overnight bag. He looked tired. Smiled softly. "Hope I'm not interrupting anything." "Nope," I said too quickly. "Just cleaning up. House looks great." I forced a smile. "Thanks." He glanced toward the hallway, the same one Noah had taken me against just hours earlier. "You see Noah today?" he asked casually, heading toward the fridge. My heart skipped. "I think he came by for a quick file or something," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But didn't stay long." Dad nodded, reaching for a bottle of water. "That boy works harder than anyone I know. Always dependable." I swallowed hard. "Yeah, he is." I sat with him for a while as he caught me up on the trip, the client meeting, the traffic. I nodded in all the right places, smiled when I had to. But I couldn't hear a word he was saying. All I could hear was the sound of Noah grunting in my ear. Telling me I was tight. Telling me I was his. I couldn't stop clenching my thighs beneath the kitchen table. I should have felt ashamed. But I didn't. I felt like I was burning alive. When Dad finally went upstairs to unpack, I grabbed my phone and headed to the laundry room, the only place in the house I knew he wouldn't follow. There was a text waiting. "Noah. Can't stop thinking about you. I've never wanted someone like this. Tell me you feel it too." My thumbs hovered. But before I could reply, another message popped through. "Noah. Don't make me wait too long. You already know I'll come find you." I stared at the screen, heart racing. I shouldn't text him back. But I already knew I would. Because whatever line we'd crossed, it was gone now. And there was no going back. Then came Sunday. I spent most of the day pretending to clean while my dad drank his coffee and worked through a stack of invoices at the kitchen table. I couldn't focus. My body still hummed from yesterday. Every time I passed by the hallway, I felt Noah all over again. His mouth, his hands, the way he filled me like he was trying to ruin me for anyone else. I hadn't texted him back. But I didn't have to. Because around noon there was a knock at the door. "Speak of the devil," my dad muttered with a smile as he stood to open it. It was Noah. Looking good with a tool bag in hand. Like nothing had happened. "Boiler still acting up?" he asked casually. My heart jumped. "Yeah, it's been rattling since I got back," my dad replied. "Figured I'd ask you to take a look." "Of course," Noah said, his eyes flicking to me for just a second, barely long enough to catch, but I did. "Mind if she helps me carry the parts down?" "She's all yours," my dad said, grabbing his coffee again. He had no idea. I followed Noah down into the basement, my palms sweating, my brain screaming at me to be careful. This was too close. Too risky. And yet, my body throbbed at the idea of getting caught. The basement was dim and cool, shadows falling over old storage bins and dusty shelves. The boiler hissed in the corner, noisy but not broken. "I can fix a lot of things," Noah said, setting down his bag. "But this boiler has to come second." I raised an eyebrow. "So you asked me to come down here to..." He stepped close. "To finish what I started." His hands were on me before I could say another word. Rough. Meaty. Desperate. He spun me around, pushing me gently against the wall beside the boiler. I gasped. "My dad's right upstairs." "He won't come down here," Noah growled, lips brushing my ear. "He trusts me." The audacity of that truth sent a wicked thrill through my body. He pulled up my sweater and yanked down my leggings in one motion, his fingers sliding over me, between me, already finding how wet I was. "So ready," he murmured, teasing me with slow, deliberate strokes. You've been thinking about this since yesterday, haven't you? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because the second he pressed inside, hot and thick and perfect, I lost every word I'd ever known. The rhythm was slow at first, quiet, calculated. His hand covered my mouth when I moaned too loud, and I bit down on his fingers, trying to stay silent. The boiler covered the creak of the pipes. Our breathing. The obscene wet sound of my body clenching around him. He grunted in my ear. If he only knew. Each thrust hit deeper, harder, his hand fisting in my hair, the other on my hip. The cold basement wall was a sharp contrast to the heat burning between us. You're mine now, he whispered. I was already falling apart, legs trembling, barely holding on. He pinned me harder, hips moving faster, chasing that last release with reckless, hungry precision. I came with a strangled gasp, muffled by his hand, and seconds later he followed, buried deep inside me, both of us shaking against the wall. We stayed there, breathing hard, still locked together. Above us, footsteps moved across the kitchen floor. I looked at Noah, wide-eyed, heart slamming in my chest. After we were done, he adjusted some controls and then he smiled. Boilers fixed. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe for more spicy stories.